The launching of the World Marxist Review, that is a new Marxist quarterly journal, is a promising step in defending and developing Marxism against the current onslaught of capitalist barbarism. In an era marked by increased labor exploitation and poverty, by the upsurge of the far right in the West, and by the multiplication of imperialist conflicts and war, Marxism remains always the guiding beacon that can rally the forces of labor in opposing capitalist barbarism. It is true that currently Marxism is under attack. The collapse from within of the Soviet bloc, with all its heroic past but also its blatant problems and contradictions, permitted the capitalist ideologues to profess the death of Marxism and lead a vociferous attack to extinguish Marxism. This attack gained significant ground both in the West and the East. In particular, it made significant inroads in demoralized sections of the left that turned either directly to capitalism or indirectly to a growingly reactionary social democracy. However, this attack failed to eradicate Marxism. Very soon, since the end of the 20th century and more markedly since the beginning of the 21st century, capitalism faced its own insurmountable contradictions. Despite the weakness of the left and the workers' movement, capitalism was stigmatized by the increasing sequence of global, regional, and national crises. This crisis expressed capitalism's internal contradictions and aggravated labor exploitation and poverty, but also intra-capitalist competition and imperialist conflicts. In the face of these problems, the bourgeoisie adopted a slightly different course against Marxism. Instead of following the futile road of trying to extinguish it completely, it pursued the course of corroding it internally. Even die-hard mainstream voices, like the Financial Times and The Economist, professed that that Marx is more relevant than ever today. Of course, they gave a distorted picture of Marx and Marxism. Instead of a theory for the overturn of capitalism, they try to water it down to a vague critical approach that can help capitalism rectify its problems. Instead of a theory promoting class politics and the independent revolutionary action of the working class, they try to make it a shy fellow traveler to bourgeois reformism. Major sections of the Western left have conformed with this plan in the pitiful expectation that they will be saved in name while they have lost their very soul. But despite all this, Marxism continues to fly its true banner. The current multiplication of ventures all over the world to defend and develop creatively Marxism is a proof of its enduring analytical and practical power. But what gives Marxism this enduring analytical and practical power? The answer lies in his DNA. Marxism is an entity comprising of one, a worldview, two, a socioeconomic analysis, and three, a guideline for social praxis. Um, what's the essence of Marxism's worldview? It is the very realistic proposition that our world is material, conflictual, and dynamic. Material because it is the matter rather than some metaphysical mind or entity that forms our world. Conflictual because contradictions between social classes, opposing interests, etc., are the rule of the game. Dynamic because the struggle be- between the opposing sides of these contradictions generates change. This is the old philosophical tradition of dialectics. Marx and Engels based this perspective on material conditions rather than on idealist principles, as for example in Hegelian idealist dialectics. Hence, Marxism conceives the world as a material entity which is riddled with contradictions and not harmony and is prone to changes. Marxism's worldview is organized on the basis of two intertwined theoretical sets, dialectical materialism and historical materialism. Dialectical materialism offers the methodology to understand our world. It is founded on the old dialectical scheme of thesis, antithesis, synthesis. This scheme signifies that out of the struggle between opposing sides, thesis and antithesis, a new situation will emerge, synthesis. Among the many other features of the dialectical materialist analysis to have a prominent role and are particularly pertinent for comprehending the contemporary world. The first feature is the distinction between appearance and essence. Uh, each, each situation has an external appearance, the way it is presented in every life, but beneath this external appearance, it is hidden an essence, that is a system of generic relations that may not be viewed with a naked eye, but it dictates the way things evolve. For understanding the true condition of things, the human theory must move beyond the realm of appearances and discover the hidden essence of things. According to Marx's very accurate dictum, all science would be superfluous if the outward appearance and the essence of things directly coincide. The essence represents the generic elements and their concomitant laws of motion of a thing and or a situation, that thus it represents its general characteristics or, in dialectical materialist terms, its abstract dimension. The appearance is the modification of this general character with specific and special, for each particular case, characteristics. Hence, the appearance belongs to the level of the concrete. The second crucial feature is the method of abstraction. It follows from the previous feature. In order to understand the world, we have to proceed beneath the level of appearances and discover the hidden but governing level of essence. Science should do this through the method of abstracting from spatial characteristics, which are of a lesser importance, concentrate on a few basic aspects, and then dig beneath them to discover the hidden essence. Historical materialism is the application of the dialectical materialist perspective in comprehending the human history. Marxism breaks radically from pre existing conceptions of history as the result of the impact of ideas that were to effect changes in a society. For Marxism, ideas stem from material conditions. At the heart of material conditions is the economy, that is, the system through which the humankind gets the necessities for its subsistence. This has been characterized by friends and foes as economic determinism. It is indeed economic determinism, as even Bill Clinton recognized that it is the economy stupid that matters. But contrary to the various anti-determinists, it is a determinism that A permits degrees of freedom and B recognizes feedback effects. Hence, it is not a mechanistic determinism, as they erroneously claim. In more strict Marxist terms, the economic relations are the basis on which the superstructure of the rest of the social relations is erected. Contradictions, that is, the struggle between opposing sides in class divided societies takes the form of class struggle between social classes. The primary field of this class struggle is the economy, but it subsequently spills over to the rest of social relations, which in turn affect the economy through feedback circuits. Then Marxism explains the evolution of human societies through a stages of history theory. Human societies are organized on the basis of modes of production, that is, configurations of socioeconomic relations between different classes. Thus, different modes of production are recognized: primitive communal society, slavery, feudalism, capitalism, etc. Each mode of production has exhausted its life cycle and is ready for substitution by another mode of production once it can no longer develop the forces of production, that is, expand the well-being of societies. What is Marxism's socioeconomic analysis? Marxism's socioeconomic analysis emphasizes world's materiality, and this materiality rests primarily on the economy. For this reason, Marxism accurately professes the primacy of the economy over the rest of the social relations. Thus, Marxism's second fundamental axis is his system of political economy. It consists of the labor theory of value and the related to it theory of surplus value. The labor theory of value regards human labor as the sole creator of wealth. Human labor is the only active component of the production process and the one that sets in motion the other forces of production, that is, the means of labor, etc. Without human intervention, no wealth production can take place. Consequently, in capitalism, where almost all goods become commodities, the amount of labor spent over the production of each commodity is its value. This labor value passes through a series of transformations as it passes from the sphere of production to the sphere of circulation and distribution, and it is ultimately expressed as monetary price. Hence, value determines price, but the latter, contrary to David Ricardo, almost never coincides with its determining value. It rather fluctuates around it. This is the famous law of value. Marx formulated this conception through his value theory of abstract labor, that is, a social conception of labor, as distinct from Ricardo's value theory of embodied labor, that is, a technical conception of labor. Also, contrary to Ricardo, value determines price, but through an indirect mechanism passing through different spheres and also at a subsequent phase, prices feedback on values. The theory of surplus value explains how exploitation takes place in the capitalist system. It is based on the valid assumption that what it is bought and sold in the labor market is not the labor performed, but the ability to perform labor, that is labor power. This assumption grasps very accurately the fact that what the capitalist buys arouse labor under his command and not the actual labor performed. The capitalist pays to the laborer a certain amount, the value of labor power, then the capitalist implements his managerial prerogative and is able to extract from the laborer whose work more value than what he has initially paid to him. This is called surplus value. It is unpaid labor and it is transformed in the capitalist's profits. It is worth noting that no other economic theory, neoclassical, Keynesian, or some other, can offer a different, coherent explanation of the origin of capitalists' profit. Subsequently, Marxism argues that capitalism is a socioeconomic system organized around the extraction of profit. This is again a very realistic assumption that no other economic theory can offer a satisfactory alternative. From the rich and sophisticated Marxist economic analysis, two elements are especially important. The first element is that the capitalist system is riddled with internal contradictions. A consequence of these contradictions is the regular appearance of economic crisis. Marxism, as opposed to mainstream economics, has a very developed and meticulous theory of crisis. The basis of the Marx theory of economic crisis is the famous law of the tendency of the rate of profit to fall. The gist of this argument is that capitalists, by competing among themselves for greater profits, ultimately lead the system to overaccumulation, that is, expansion beyond its realistic dimensions, and thus to a falling rate of profit. This falling profitability tendency, once surpassing certain definite levels, leads to economic crisis. That is, the collapse of normal functioning of the system and the reduction of the GDP. In a nutshell, this conception argues that the very success of the system leads to its failure. Relentlessly, Marx emphasizes this destructive force built into the process of capitalist development. The second important element of Marxist economic analysis is that as the capitalist system grows old, that is, as it fails to expand the forces of production and becomes an obstacle to their further development, then it increases the exploitation of the toiling masses. This takes the form of relative, but also absolute in several cases, immiserization of the popular classes. In stricter terms, this explains the increase of economic inequalities and poverty in contemporary capitalism. Now, the third fundamental element of Marxism is its use as a guideline for social praxis and change. Based on its worldview and its socioeconomic analysis, Marxism offers guidelines for social praxis. It argues that once a socioeconomic system is exhausted, it is futile to try to reform it. Thus, it is necessary to remove it and substitute it with a better one. This has happened in the past with a succession of pre-capitalist socioeconomic systems um, to the capitalist socioeconomic system. Hence, Marxism pivot for social praxis is the societal change. And of course, Marxism's uh, aim is the creation of a new non-exploitative, more just socioeconomic system, socialism and communism. This societal change does not take place smoothly and peacefully, as vested dominant interests and social classes do not relinquish their grip on society. Thus, societal change comes through class struggle. In the case of the capitalist system, the class struggle takes place on the basis of the antagonistic relationship between the two main classes, labor, the creator of social wealth, and capital, the appropriator of the greater part of social wealth. Marxism argues that labor, the working class, is the instigator of societal changes towards a more just and equitable socioeconomic system, socialism, and ultimately communism. Class struggle by labor should not try to reform the system, as this is futile. Instead, it should follow the strategic aim of overthrowing the whole system. This strategic aim is organized at the tactical level with the everyday struggles for ameliorating the working and living conditions of the toiling classes. What's the contemporary relevance of Marxism and how the world Marxist review can contribute to this? Marxism's DNA gives him his analytical and practical superiority and explains his contemporary relevance. The recurrence of economic crisis during the recent decades emphasize Marxism's superiority against mainstream economics. His focus on economic crisis makes Marxism better equipped to understand both the existence and the recurrence of this phenomenon, whereas mainstream economics simply lack a general theory of crisis or have a weak one in the case of Keynesianism. Similarly, the increase of inequalities and poverty in contemporary capitalism proved to be prove the contemporary relevance of Marxism. Against, again, mainstream economics failed to offer a convincing alternative perspective, but also at a deeper epistemological level, Marxist material dialectics and their notion of contradiction prove particularly opposite in understanding the contemporary world that is really riddled with conflicts and antagonism. The new journal, the World Marxist Review, can play a crucial international role in defending Marxism against opponents and usurpers, and in developing Marxism creatively. Thank you.